Welcome to Daryl's Little Corner. We're so glad you tuned us in. We'll be with you every Monday from 7 to 8. Tonight with me, you can just look at him and know who he is now, as Mayor of Ripley, Mayor Marsailles. We're glad to have you.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here again. Always happy to come on and visit with you.
Oh, we're so glad to have you. We're just, here at Daryl's Little Corner, we kind of like to know what's going on around us, and we'll just go right to the head knocker and find out.
Might as well. Might as well. That's fine.
I tell you, sometimes we just stop. We nose around and ask questions, but we ask people that don't know.
Well,
so that's no
true.
good.
That's
no good. I figure that's who knows. So let's just jump right in.
Okay.
Okay. Some time ago, because I don't know exactly how long, we voted in a tourism tax.
Right.
But we're still paying it.
Still paying that. That's correct.
Anybody notice it? I didn't. That's the easiest way to pay a tax.
Kind of got it. Yeah.
You don't even notice it.
You don't notice it that much. It's really not that much. It's just 2% on prepared food and hotels. So.
Well, I don't stay in a hotel, but now we go by and get a plate.
Yeah.
I don't even think about it.
Yeah.
But where actually does that money go?
All of the tourism tax money is collected, and it's about $20,000 a month in the city of Ripley.
Well, a lot of eating out.
On average, yeah.
Yeah.
And all of it goes to pay the note for the new park. So the city issued bonds or borrowed money, $2.65 million as part of the funding for the park. And the People's Bank bought those bonds, and so it's basically the city's borrowed money for the park, and the payment comes twice a year. One time it's interest only, and the other time it's interest plus principal, and it all comes out to be just right about $230,000 a year, and at $20,000 a month, we're collecting, on average, just right at what it takes to make those payments. And so that was the whole reason for the tax to begin with, was to build that park. And every dime of that tourism tax money has gone towards that new park.
Okay, is that a permanent tax?
It's not permanent. It has to be reenacted every couple of years by the legislature, and the city of Ripley got a bill passed, I believe it was last year, to enable it for another 2 years. So it's going to be repealed, repealment date in 2015, I think, unless the legislature passes to extend it. But that money is, true enough, paid by people who live in Ripley and Tippah County. It's also paid by a substantial number of people who travel to Ripley for First Monday and for the ball tournaments and outside ball games for the high schools and other schools. And so a lot of people help us pay for that park with that 2% money. So it's not just a tax on City of Ripley people. It's for everybody that comes through town. We do get a lot of help with that.
I hadn't even noticed it. Who is the legislature?
The Mississippi legislature.
State.
Yeah, state legislature. Yes, Mississippi.
Like the state, like Bill Stone's a state senator.
That's right. The
Jody
Mississippi
Stevenson.
Senate, the Mississippi Senate, and the House of Representatives is the Mississippi legislature.
I just wonder who made that decision to keep it. Well, what they do? Repossess the park? I mean, what do you do?
Well,
we got back the payment.
The city would have to come up with a way to pay that, and what everybody wants to avoid is raising property taxes. And so far we've been able to do that in the city.
If you raise them again, I think everybody in town's going to sell out and leave.
Well, the city hasn't raised your property tax in years and years and years. The city is a very, very, very small part of the taxes that each person pays. The majority of it is for school and county assessment.
That's true. I had mine itemized one year.
Yeah, cities is very small.
I just could not. I need to own a
And so
barn.
we look for ways to have the money that people say, have the money to do the things that people want us to do. Streets, fire department, police department, parks and recreation.
Have to do it.
We got to do those
Takes
things,
money.
and it takes money.
Takes money.
So,
And it's something that we don't really think about, but if you raise the land tax, you only tax people who own land.
right,
People who have worked
right,
and paid for that land.
Right.
People that don't own anything, they don't pay their part.
right,
Everybody lives in town or visits in town
Right.
has a part,
right.
So it just makes better sense
I think so.
to make the tourism tax, because everybody eats.
Right,
I'd rather have a sales tax than a land tax.
I had too.
I don't pay it either way.
right, sure.
But that way, everybody pays and everybody helps.
That's called a progressive tax. A sales tax is progressive, where a property tax is not. It's
Well, if it's sales tax or like the tourism tax, even if you don't work but you draw a check and you spend that check, you're helping pay.
that's right.
You're helping fund stuff where
Sure.
it's not just one group of people.
Right. It's
Having
based
to
on
pay
what
for
it's,
it.
it's based on what you spend
That
rather,
makes sense.
rather than what you own, which is a fairer
That
way
makes
of doing
sense.
it. If you want to pay less taxes, that way you spend less.
Well,
It's
it's just,
kinda
to
up to
me,
you.
that's more fair.
Sure, I think so.
Maybe
too.
because I own a home.
Right. well,
Maybe I think that way because I own
Right.
something. But if, I can remember when I didn't own anything and I didn't even give it a thought. So,
Right. Right.
I don't know. Okay, like that wasn't enough. We got through voting in the tourism tax. A few years later, we voted in the beer sales.
Right. Right.
Okay, is this beer or is it beer? And so I don't think so, I don't know. Is it beer and liquor or is it?
Beer and liquor and wine.
Okay, we've been hearing on TV a lot about wine. Do we do wine?
We do.
Oh, we do.
It's
Okay.
available for sale in the city of Ripley.
Okay. I'm curious about this. Now, I understand from a previous time you were here that it's very strictly ruled. It's not like just anybody can open up a little shack and start handing it out.
You have to get a license from the state to sell either beer or liquor or both. And that's, if you want to sell it like at a little store or if you want to sell it at a restaurant, it's all regulated by the state. And they're pretty expensive permits to be able to do that. And the state checks background and does a lot of work so that they can kind of ensure that the people who are doing it are on the up and up.
Okay, are there rules saying who can and cannot buy or how much they can buy?
No one under the age of 21 can buy liquor or beer or
Okay.
wine.
Okay.
That's state law, and that applies
Uh-huh.
in the city of Ripley.
Okay.
As far as the amounts, I don't know. There probably is some amount that, you're not allowed to get over that at a certain time, but I don't know what that is.
Okay. That just came across my head. What keeps, say if you went and got enough to have a big party
Yeah.
or whatever you do with it, and you load it in your car at the store, what would keep from the police watching that store and following you to the city limit and arresting you?
Well, here's the thing. A city policeman is not going to arrest you for possession of alcoholic beverages because it's legal inside the city limits. And once you cross the city limits, you're out of the city of Ripley's police jurisdiction.
Uh-huh.
Now, up to on the other side of the city limits, it's up to the sheriff and his deputies to do that. And I have no idea how they're.
Well, I've not done this that I know
What their procedures
of.
are.
That I know of, they've
It would
not done
probably
it.
not be a.
Somebody asked me that.
Yeah.
But it is a thought,
I have no. That's a county function. The
I'm probably
sheriff's
giving them an
department.
idea.
Maybe you are.
That's a bad deal, yes. Okay, in the city limits, you go get this, let's say, whichever, I don't know, drink or whatever. Okay, you carry it home. All right. I don't know, it seemed like to me we're seeing a lot of people DUIs, and are we seeing more?
We have not seen a significant increase, and I say that because I don't have the data that goes back all that far. I do know that the year before it went legal, there was a certain amount. I asked the chief about 2 months ago whether they had seen any increases. I've asked every month since it went in because it's very, very important to me that
It is.
people aren't out drinking and driving. And so the chief says they had not seen any additionals. Maybe last year there were 6 or 7, and this year there may be 7 or 8. So I mean it's not a statistically significant increase. So that's.
Most people are smart enough to go home and drink.
That's the ideal thing. If you're going to drink, get it, take it home, and stay there.
Don't get in the car.
Don't get out drinking and driving.
If you're going to drink, let somebody else have your keys.
Absolutely, just stay home.
Stay safe. It's physically safe and freedom. Sitting behind bars, not fun.
That's right.
Okay, how does the income of the beer sales compare to the income of the tourism tax?
It's probably a fifth of that, or a third. So we don't get a report every month. The city doesn't, that says this amount of sales tax money was for beer, this amount was for food, this amount was for gasoline, this amount was for whatever, toys and games and yo-yos. We don't know. We just get an amount of money every month, which is of the 7% that we all pay in sales tax. The state keeps 82.5% of that. The city only gets 18.5% of that. So it's 81.5 at 18.5. So the city only gets a little pinch of that sales tax money. And when we were looking at this, just trying to make a budget 2 years ago, it's been last budget year, we talked to the distributors and asked them what they thought they would sell, and we based our projections on what they told us, and that comes out to be about $3,000 a month to the city of Ripley. But we don't get a report that says this is for beer or whatever. So that, all I can tell is that we met the projections that we set according to this new product that was for sale in town, and it's going to generate new sales. So there's not a special beer tax. The city doesn't have authority to levy a special beer tax or liquor tax or anything like that. The state gets all the tax revenue off of it except for our little tiny slice of the 7% sales tax.
Well, I know when they were campaigning, we kept hearing about we'd have all these fancy roads, and that it's just not happening, is it? It's not the big windfall of money everybody.
Well, I didn't think that it would be a huge windfall of money.
Well, you're in a position to know, but most voters were not.
Yeah, it's just there's only so much, because the only way that it would raise money is through sales tax, and there's only so much that we could be expected to have sold in the city.
That's right.
And so $3,000 a month is $36,000 a year. You could say that it pays for maybe half of the paving that we just did. Okay, we just did a paving project in town. It's about $69,000 worth of paving and patching that we just had done. So you could say, well, it paid for half of that. But that just comes in as a chunk of money, and the city just operates on that for general government purposes, which is police, fire, parks and recreation, streets, sanitation. That means garbage. Picking up the brush piles and stuff like that. And then it pays for some of the mayor's salary, some of the city clerk's salary. Then we have to pay insurance, and then the city pays taxes, and we have to pay for legal fees, and we have to pay for accounting fees. So all of those things kind of chew up that bit of money. In an average year, just from sales tax and property tax revenue, the city generates about $2.5 million. And so out of all of that, 36,000 of it was for that we estimate for beer and wine sales, beer and liquor sales. The 2% generates, as I said, somewhere around $230,000 a year. So by and large, the 2% is a much more beneficial as far as generating money for the city. But the 2% could go up if some of the restaurants begin to sell the alcohol. Then the 2% gets tacked onto the whole ticket.
Do we have any that are?
I think there are two that I know of. El Jefe and Time Out. I think both restaurants sell.
Oh, is Time Out a restaurant?
Yeah, they do have
I didn't know that.
ribs and.
Yeah, you can't sell just booze, can you?
Can't have it. Can't have just a booze joint. You can't have it. State won't let you have it, and in addition to that, the city of Ripley put restrictions on having that. So it's got to be at least 50% of your sales has to come from food sales or something other besides beer, according to the city of Ripley. And a restaurant setting, according to the state, it's got to be 40%. No more than 40% of your sales can come from liquor and wine. So.
Well, with these restaurants, you're not having a lot of trouble with the problems that go with alcohol. I mean,
we are working hard.
And fights and.
We're working hard to make sure that we don't. There have been a couple of flare-ups, and we're addressing it. And we're going to enforce the ordinances that the city has in place. We want everybody to be safe and have a good time, and we're going to do everything that we need to do to keep it from impacting negatively our community.
That's one thing that we don't think about, but when somebody does something real good, you might not even hear about it. But you let something flare up all over town.
That's right.
Yeah. They get the advertisement.
Well, we work really hard to make sure that, what goes on is what's supposed to go on, and that if anybody's violating any of the terms of the ordinance for selling beer or wine or liquor, that we move swiftly and let them know that they can't do it anymore, and issue one warning or two warnings, and then we'll have a few options, but we'll make it really clear that you can't do business this way in the city of Ripley.
Okay, on another subject, got the park up and going.
It's up and going.
Pretty out there.
It is. It's very nice.
Oh,
very nice
is.
park.
It is. Got any future plans out there?
Well, right now, if we can get about a week of clear, dry weather,
Forget that.
we're working on a walking track around it. So the city applied for, and we were awarded a $100,000 grant from the Mississippi Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks to pay for a trail around that. And we're going to call it the Kerry W. Hill Memorial Walking Trail because everybody, I'm sure, remembers that Mayor Hill loved to walk that track.
He did.
And we'd see him walking around town. So we felt that it was an appropriate thing, since that park probably would not be in existence had it not been for all the groundwork and all the hard work that he did prior to my coming in office. But
okay, is it an admission fee? Is it?
The only time that there's going to be a gate fee is if there's a tournament going on, and that's going to be the only time. Other than that, just go on in there. Once we get the walking track built, people can just go in and walk if it's daylight. Now, if there's nothing going on, we'll close it at dark, and we'll open it back up, around daylight.
Prevent vandalism.
Right, or try to.
But most people try to walk when it's just almost dark, where it's cooler.
I understand.
In the summer.
And so, in summertime, there's going to be something going on, most evenings out there. So we'll have the lights on.
Well,
And then even late into the fall, we've just now completed the football league games, and we're still got a few more games of soccer and flag football. So there's still time to go out there. We also there's a nice playground out there. That's a new modern steel and plastic playground. It's very nice. It's really enjoyable. Some swings and that sort of thing. And there's a pavilion out there with some picnic tables.
Not wood.
Not wooden.
Wood
No,
rots.
that's right. The wooden playgrounds rot.
Yes.
This one's going to hold up
does.
a good
That's
bit longer.
wonderful. Yes.
And we're very grateful to all of our sponsors who've bought advertising signs out there, and grateful to the People's Bank and to the Fortier family for all the contributions that they've made out there. But it's a really beautiful facility. All of the people from out of town that have traveled for various reasons to the park have bragged on how nice it is and how we've just got the nicest things around here. Of course, other cities have heard that, and of course, a couple of them are working on their own, but we've got a really great facility, and it had been badly needed for a number of years, and I'm just really proud that we're able to get that going.
In case anybody's not been there, can you tell them where it's at?
Yes, you just go out Highway 4 West, around South Jackson Street, around Dead Man's Curve, and just keep on going. It's just about a mile and a half on the right. Right before you get to the Ripley sign. It's a good ways inside the city limits, but it is inside the city limits, just a mile or so from Dead Man's Curve, out 4 West.
Why there?
The Fortier family donated the land to put it on.
Yes,
wonderful. It was great.
I want to make sure we mention that. I really was, because you don't always hand out, especially family land.
That's right.
That's not an everyday thing.
That's right.
Does it seem well used?
Oh yes, it has been very well used. There have been a number of evenings, particularly during the baseball and softball season, that one had to drive around 2 or 3 times to find a parking place.
Great.
And there's
That's
over
great.
300 parking places out there, and that just tells me there's a lot of people using the facility. So we're filling it up pretty regular out there, and
That's great.
we needed it.
It is beautiful, and it's kind of a little mini tourist attraction.
Oh, sure. It is.
It really is. It really
And
is.
it's a big,
People are into ball games. Maybe folks my age, not so much, but the younger people,
Sure.
they still got kids that play ball,
Young
and
families.
grandkids that play ball,
right.
and by the time it's a great grandkid, you say, "Oh, darling, I hope you do good, and I'll see you when you get home."
Well, come on out there. We've got plenty
talk
to do.
that. But I think it's a neat thing for the city. I really do,
Well,
and
thank
for
you.
the people.
But we have gotten lots and lots of good reviews about the park, and with anything new, there's going to be little bugs and things to work out, but we're working through those
Beautiful.
quickly,
Beautiful.
and just going to try to keep it nice and make it even better.
Okay, moving on. Tell us about the water situation. It's coming winter time.
It's coming on winter time.
Yes, so we're looking for a lot of trouble.
Well, I'm not ever looking for trouble, and I hope we don't have any. But and this was true in March of 2012 when I first took office. Our water system is at 86% capacity, which means that we don't have a lot of spare capacity, and if anything goes wrong, it tends to impact.
Oh, think about that when you water in the yard or
Right.
dipping your faucet.
Right, and so in the
Awful
wintertime, when the temperatures get below
Awful
freezing,
foul.
people like to leave their faucets drizzling
Well, you
a little
nearly
bit.
have to, or the
You have to,
freeze.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
the
so
freeze.
that's fine most of the time, unless there's a really bad break or something else happens, a pump goes out, or something happens. Then all that drizzling, just really puts a lot of strain on the system, which is it's just running just about as wide open as you want to run it right now anyway. So we're working on a big project through the Rural Development Service, Rural Utilities Service, and we aim to address every issue that we can with the water system. We've had our local city engineer, Ward Engineering, Mark Ward's the engineer. We've had them do a system analysis on the water system, and because we didn't want to spend money patching little things for the short term. We wanted to see what it's going to take to fix this thing, for 20 or 25 years so that we can move on to doing other things. And so they, perform that system analysis, and we need to have at least 2 more wells and probably 1 or 2 more storage tanks. Because the way that a water system works, you pump the water out of the ground into a tank, which provides the buffering for the demand periods. And then when the tank gets down to a certain level, the pumps kick on. And we have situations running at 86% capacity where sometimes the tank levels get too low or the pumps can't keep up with the demand. And that doesn't happen very often, but it does come close to happening more often than I'm comfortable with. So we want to find out what it's going to take, and the engineers have done a fantastic job, and they've put a plan together and presented that to the board, and we're pursuing some help from the federal government with this project, going through a rural utilities program that offers up to 45, in some cases up to 75% grant money for a project. And we're just hopeful and anxious to get moving on this. I understand, my water goes a little gray from time to time at my house. I know that we have other issues out there. We've got old lines, we've got fire hydrants that we flush once a year, and then we've got low places in the line, so that there are a lot of issues, and we know it, and we are working on what it's going to take to really fix this thing and not just patch at it. So that's something that it's very important to me, and I'm glad now that some of the other distractions, the beer and the wine and some of these other things are kind of past, and we can move on to what's really important for economic development. Industries coming to town. We've got to be able to provide water, and we've got to be able to provide adequate sanitary sewer services to any industry that's interested in locating here. And currently, both of those systems are they're just running at just about all they can handle, and we've got to build those up a little bit if we expect to be successful in luring any new plants or industries into town, because the Tippah County Industrial Park just north of Ripley is supplied by the city of Ripley, and also the one over in the industrial park by the elementary school. And there's just there's only so much that we can provide at our current condition in our plant. So all of these ills, we've just got aging infrastructure. The pump motors have burned out in the past 20 months. We have had to replace 3 of the well pump motors. We've had to replace 1 lift station. We've had cameras going into the sewer lines trying to inspect all the areas so we could find out exactly what we needed to dig up and not dig up the whole thing, and not, didn't want to dig something up if we didn't really need to. So we've invested a lot of money. The city has, I and the aldermen, we've spent a lot of time and effort and worry and concern trying to make this thing go into a project that we can just solve some of these problems, the majority of them, for a number of years rather than just patching at it. We don't want to waste any money by doing it. So we know it's urgent, and we are working on it.
How expensive is it if a well pump goes out?
We've done 3, and one of them was $46,000. One was $48,000, and one was $52,000. They came about 2 months apart. It's been 8 or 10 months ago since the last one, but all of our storage tank sites have 2 wells that pump into them, and the way that we're running now, one well can supply the demand for the people that are using water, and the other one can try to keep the tank filled. But if one goes down, then that tank starts draining down, and then you just get deeper and deeper in trouble because you can't pump it out of the ground fast enough.
Where does this money come from when the pumps go out? Where do you get the funds?
Well,
do you have it? I mean,
we have been blessed thus far that we have had the water department had acquired just saved up money over some years, and was able to pay for those. I got some help from I contacted Mike Armour, who's with the ARC, Appalachian Regional Commission. He was able, and he talked to Governor Bryant, and Governor Bryant authorized some help on one of those pumps. So we did get we got about $46,000 back from grant money on that. So some of that came through that way, but most of it has just been paid out of cash, operating cash, as we've gone on. And unfortunately, operating a water system is very, very expensive. These pumps and these tanks and some of the maintenance things we have to do is very expensive, and we can't continue to do that. We're going to have to at some point get some kind of a grant loan combination so that we'll be able to fix these big expensive things all at once, and then just pay the note on it. We hope our goal, our aim, and what we're hoping for is that as we do that we'll have it paid off long before it needs to be done again. But that really, there's a lot of things that are out of our control to make that happen.
I remember when water used to be real cheap, and if a toilet ran, or you just let it run, and if it, a sink had a little drip to it, well, if it didn't drive you crazy, you didn't worry about it, because it was just, amount to anything. Not so much now, is it?
Well, it's, and something that I think we all should be careful about is that we take our fresh water for granted.
Yes, we do.
But
We do.
if you've watched the news at all this past summer, you see that there are places in our country where they're running out of water to pump out of the ground.
Yes, and Tennessee and Mississippi are disagreeing over who's taking whose water.
Well, because the same aquifer that the city of Ripley and everybody else in North Mississippi draws off of has a little toe. An aquifer is just a great big underground lake. You can think of it that way, way deep down in the ground. And that aquifer has a little toe that dips into Tennessee. And so city of Memphis is drilling into that toe. They've got an aquifer that they could get that's not the same as ours, but they're getting ours while they can get it. And so it's making that water flow towards them, and it's dropping the water table in areas. So far, it's not a threatening problem like they're having in California and some other places.
I thought it could get that way.
But we're trying to, the people who are involved in that are trying to think down the road and say, hey, what can we do? And so each of us, it's getting more and more expensive. Everybody, I think, understands that what it costs to do business, no matter what your business is. 10 years ago, it's a lot more expensive now. 20 years ago, a lot more expensive, even so. And so things are getting more and more expensive to operate. This equipment's getting older and older. Our water under the ground is a finite resource, and we have never really thought about it that way. And there are people in California and other places paying more for their water than they're paying for gas and oil.
Are we looking at a rate increase?
The part of the engineering study that they've done, and I have asked that question, are we going to have to raise rates to make these payments? And we hope not, but that rate study has yet to come in. There's a lot of things that have to be considered, and it's a possibility. We hope not. We'll just have to wait and see.
We're really, it's kind of, the economy's a little better than it was a couple of years ago, but it's a hard time on people now.
I know.
It really is. It's tough. And that's the hard question. Are we looking at a rate increase? Because if we are, I realize you can't help it. I realize
Well-
they're doing all they do for us, but on the other hand, people especially, yeah, it's hard on us old folks. Most of us got medical bills and what have you.
Sure, I know. My dad
More
had too.
fun if we vacation bills, that'd be more fun.
It would be, wouldn't it?
Well, some of them, that's the way it is.
would
But
be.
anyway, money doesn't go where it used to. But these young people that have children, it's really
Sure,
difficult on them.
it's tough, and that's the reason that we're hesitant to do anything. But you can't have a water system
No.
that's broke.
Well, you can't buy a stamp for 3 cents anymore
That's
either.
right.
I mean, I understand. And, we're
Excuse me.
we are accustomed to our way of life. Now, I can remember when we were young and we went to the creek and got water
Sure.
in a bucket.
Yeah, and used to your sewer pipe
Yes,
went in the creek just downstream of where you
Yes.
drew your water out.
probably so.
And you just hope
If
your
you had a
neighbor-
sewer pipe.
if you had one, yeah,
Yes.
that's right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, I remember when you went to a well and you drew your water or you pumped your water and towed it in a bucket
Right.
with a dipper and everybody drank it.
Right. So
All
it's,
did.
I mean,
And
we're getting-
I'll just, I kind of like turning that tap on.
it's handy.
Yes, I do.
I'll tell you,
Yes, I do.
it is a blessing.
Now, I don't want
We
you
need to
to,
wake
don't
up every
break the
morning
water.
and thank the good Lord that we
Amen.
have water running out of the wall that's fit to
Electricity and
drink.
water. Yes, we are used to our luxuries. Women say, oh, I'm so tired, it's laundry day and I've washed all day long. No, we didn't.
Now,
We did.
I saw down at First Monday last Saturday, I saw one that looked like it needed work, but one that was still in pretty good shape, one of those old crank laundry ringers.
Oh, I had one of them,
Yeah,
yeah.
that-
Yeah,
I
that
saw
was when
one
we
down
did
there.
laundry. That's when we did laundry. Oh, a rub board.
Yeah.
And you
Melinda,
seen those?
she wasn't interested in me getting that for her.
No.
That's,
I have a little rub board.
yeah.
I have
there
a
you-
flower on it.
Yeah. I see them playing those with spoons.
Yeah, that'll do. But I have no interest in going back and living the difficult life.
Right.
And these luxuries that we are so accustomed to, and we just expect
Sure.
that they're just going to be delivered to the house, which they are. They really are.
Yeah.
They cost money.
It does. It
And you
does.
I understand that you can't help it that it costs money and the equipment. Now, I've been in Ripley as long as I can almost remember. Now, I'm not from here, but I came just pretty soon. But, years and years. I raised my children here.
Sure.
My youngest child was born here, so I've been here, I'd say at least 50 years. And I don't remember a major overhaul on this stuff. I believe it would have been in the paper or,
About 20 years ago, there was a pretty major overhaul at the sewage lagoon, and probably somewhere around 2000 and right around 98 or 99. Somewhere in there, there was some work done on. They built a new tank out on off of Cotton Gin Road back there, off of Dalton Street.
but that's a patch, that's not a,
Well,
that's not a new system.
That helped a whole
That's a
bunch of,
patch.
that helped everybody on that side
Yes,
of
it
town.
did.
And
It
you know,
did.
we've got probably 2 more structures like that to build, and really would help our water a whole lot.
But some of these pipes have been in the ground, I know, over 50 years.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, since Mr. Finger first started running it uptown there.
My
It's,
daughter bought a house, an older home, it's beautiful, it is gorgeous. You go inside, it is beautiful, real wood walls,
Wow.
not this thin,
Sure.
beautiful. And when they had a pipe problem and they had to have it dug up, it was those concrete tiles,
Sure.
Yeah. And they've been there all those
Sure.
years.
And they last a long time, but.
I bet the city's got some of them too.
We've got a few of those.
I bet they do.
The biggest problems that we have with sewer lines are those that are they're cast concrete, and they were laid, as you say, 30, 40, 50 years ago.
Long
And
ago. long
the earth
ago.
shifts, and the
shift.
joints break. That's
They
what
shift.
happens. And
Yes,
then you
it
start
does.
having trouble.
It does. And that's, and we're so used to our luxuries but I remember we didn't have them.
Right.
They didn't have them. Well, we're getting a sidewalk, ain't we?
Well, at least one. Yeah.
Well, we're getting a sidewalk.
We're working on
That's fair.
we're working on little places around town as we can. But I got a letter from Mike Taggart. It's been nearly 2 years ago, and he's our Northern District Transportation.
He's been here, long time ago he
Yep.
was here.
He's our
Nice guy.
Transportation Commissioner.
Really good fella.
He sent us a letter, and he said, shortening it, but he said, we got $202,000 left over from a project, and do y'all have anything you can use it for?
Oh, great,
And I said, can we use it on sidewalks? Because what I've been hearing, that sidewalk from the square to City Hall, you can't walk on it if you've got anything but hiking boots and a walking stick. I mean, if you're in a wheelchair or if you have any trouble walking, you cannot navigate from the square to City Hall. And that beautiful new theater that we've got there, and all those little stores right there along there, have that old broken up sidewalk. And so I said, can we use that grant money on this hard to fix sidewalk? Because it's the banks are steep once you get
Yes.
past the old Freds, and it's just a real headache.
Yes, it is.
And so I said, well, because it'd be very expensive for the city to have to try to fix all that itself. But it's going to be probably about a $240,000 project. $202,000 of that is grant money that we got from Mississippi Department of Transportation. So it is expensive, and it's a lot, and it'll be the kind of the theme of it is an ADA compliant, and as you get older and if you get where you can't get around, some of those things really start to matter.
It does matter.
But you'll be able to walk
Matters to me.
or take your wheelchair, from the courthouse all the way down to Ripley City Hall on a safe wide sidewalk.
Have you ever tried to go in one of those stores, say, next to new? No, you hadn't. You're too young.
Sure, I go in there. Yeah.
Not in a wheelchair, you have.
Not in a wheelchair. No.
I took my first
it's-
husband down there, and he was in a wheelchair not long before he died, and he just had a fit wanting to go. I thought, oh, we can't. Well, you got that big curve I went all the way to the end and brought him up, and as I reached for the door, somehow that handle of that chair slipped out of my hand.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Very dangerous, very dangerous.
Well,
But I didn't know I could still run.
You moved pretty fast.
I caught him.
Well, thank God you caught him.
But it is really dangerous. It really is.
Well, and we realize that, and
I didn't, or I wouldn't have had him down there.
we've got we're working on it as much as we can. That sort of maintenance has to come out of the general fund, which is streets, sidewalks, fire, police, parks. That all comes out of sales tax money and property tax money. That's where all the money to do those things comes from, and that's what we have to use. So we're just working at it, trying to fix the worst of the worst and spots around town, and we're just going to keep working on it. The city has adopted several months ago, it was a couple years ago, an ADA compliance plan, which the federal government makes the cities do. And if you're going to accept federal grant money, you've got to have an ADA compliance plan. And this sidewalk project that we're talking about will put us ahead of schedule on that plan. So there's a lot of benefits to doing it, and we'll get a really nice stretch of sidewalk for not a whole lot of city money spent on it.
Right. Absolutely have to say it on the air. I love the street signs.
Oh, well, thank you. We do
Up
too.
there, close to the square, those historic, it
They're
says.
beautiful, aren't they?
They are gorgeous.
Yeah.
They are wonderful. I can remember when you gave directions here, you said you go over there and you turn left at so-and-so's
That's right.
house and
That's
Mr.
right.
Smith.
That's right.
You turn right at the Smith house and you
Yep.
turn left at Miller's house or whatever. I mean, there were no signs. I lived here for years before I ever saw any signs. And then when somebody'd say, in fact, somebody asked me where my house was and they named the road and I said, I don't know. Because we were so accustomed
Sure.
to just who lived where.
Right.
And turned by so-and-so's house that we didn't even read the sign.
Right. Right.
That's pitiful. isn't it?
Well, I
But
don't
we
know.
didn't.
It's
We
fine.
didn't.
You
But
didn't need them.
went up to the square, and here is this gorgeous signs, and the posts they're beautiful.
Thank you.
They are beautiful,
Those
and
were
I
made-
think they're a plus to our city.
Absolutely. And those were made over at Benton County at the Storm Door place.
You're kidding? Oh, they're beautiful.
He made those for the city. This is last year, the year before, I can't remember. And we had in that budget we had, I think, around $15,000 dedicated towards it. There's some in this year's budget that might be possible to use for that under the beautification, and we just kind of have to wait and see. But I'm hearing that you like them and you think we might should do some more.
Love 'em. Yes.
Do a few
Yes.
more and just kind
I do.
of keep working out
I do.
from there.
We, one time, years ago, I had occasion to go through a town where they were, there was a lot of wrought iron, and, years later, I thought about it, I wanted to go back.
Right.
I think that's kind of the way these signs are about Ripley.
That same kind of feeling.
Yeah. People go through, and it's such a pleasant atmosphere. It's just, it just looks well kept and cared about.
Well, that's-
Makes a difference.
I think it does. It
I do.
absolutely does.
I do.
It shows that we're taking pride in how things look in our community. And we started in our historic downtown, and we can just work out from there. And it's just, he's got the designs now, and our city men installed them all.
I'd like to see some more of
So
them.
I think
really,
we'll
it's nice.
we'll probably look at maybe doing some more this spring.
I think it's neat. It's neat. We've only got a few minutes, so let's just touch on the gas lines.
Okay.
I remember when a gas line broke and everybody was out of heat.
Mm-hmm.
I like heat in my
You're
house.
up north.
Yes, I live at Faulkner. And everybody up that way, and I remember they had to go around to every house and light it back.
Light
I
the
think
pipes
I
back.
think they had to go turn it off and then go back. And
They
there
did.
was a lot of red tape to
Yeah,
it.
there was.
What prevents this from happening?
Well,
again?
that particular line that you're speaking about was dug up and replaced, and so.
So
anywhere-
we're safe, but what about your end of town?
Everywhere that we know of that has, a really old steel line that could possibly cause trouble, we're working on replacing those as we go. And we have done quite a few. We spent hundreds of thousands of dollars just in the past couple of years augmenting the gas system, running new line, and digging things up that were, needed to be replaced, replacing old meters. Of course, we've got the radio read.
Love the new meters.
We've got the new
Yes.
radio read
Yes.
meters going in. That project's underway, and we hope to be done with that just right around between Thanksgiving and Christmas sometime. We'll be finished with it.
I do appreciate the modern conveniences we have.
Sure.
Actually, we get our gas from Ripley. We sure do. And I'm way ahead of, I can pay a monthly bill a lot easier than I buy a whole tank of gas. I mean, it's just so much more budget friendly.
It is.
And it just, I think more people would be interested in getting the city gas if it was available.
We've responded
I really
to a
do.
number of petitions, and we're running extensions. There's a process that you have to go through to make sure that the Public Service Commission is okay with what we intend to do. And obviously, from a business perspective, which is what you have to operate it as, you need to make sure that you don't spend more on those lines than you'll make selling the gas. You can do it a little bit, but you have to go slow because you don't want to run out of money.
Yeah.
To do that. So it's a slower process than I would like, but we're trying to be very conservative and build these lines out, extend that system, but also make sure that we don't impact the viability of the system. That we've got plenty of money to operate, plenty of money for accidents and rainy days, and that where we put the gas out to, there's some reasonable expectation that eventually the system would be paid back over time for running that line out there. That gas line costs a lot of money,
Yeah.
to run, because you've got to go through permits. If you're running alongside the highway, you got to go through the state, you got to go through Department of Archives and History, you got to hire geologists and engineers and pay all this stuff. So it's not just $1 a foot for the pipe.
Yeah, that's
There's a lot.
right. That's right.
There's a lot more to it.
Well, we are slap dab out of time.
Sorry
I
to hear that.
sure do appreciate you coming.
Well, it's my pleasure,
This
as
is-
always.
Oh, love to have you. We've enjoyed this hour together. Don't forget to watch the Jeter Family Program Saturday night at 7 o'clock. I do hope you'll tune us in again next Monday for Daryl's Little Corner at 7 o'clock. May God bless. Thank you.
You're welcome, thank
You are a
you.
good interview. You've always.
Really, thank
Yes,
you. Well, I'm
yes.
flattered that you would say so,
Yeah,
but you know,